everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. We got everybody in the house. How's it going, guys?
I'm doing okay. Still a little burnt. It's I have yeah, I'm still suffering a little bit in that regards. But other than that, everything is great.
Yeah, no, you were definitely selling that by the long pause and the.
Yeah. I can't wait to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, you got snow, right? So
yeah, it was 62 degrees and sunny on Monday. Had an outside baseball practice, and we got 6 inches of snow last night.
Nice.
Just what I like to hear coming into April.
Well, this is the everyone complains about winter in Wisconsin because it's cold, it's snowy, it is what it is. But in my opinion, March is the worst month of the year in Wisconsin because you'll have days where it's like 65, 66 and sunny. 24 hours later, it's 30 degrees and snowing. And then you might have another day where it's like 40, 50 degrees and raining. The next day, it's going to be 20 degrees and snowing. Like it doesn't want to make up its mind for this entire month.
I mean, we have that. We just don't generally end up with the 6 inches of snow portion. Like we were sunny most of yesterday, and then some wind and rain came through. It knocked power out of a couple of cities for a while yesterday. Then it cleared back up. It's raining this morning. So if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes is really what it is.
Yeah, last Saturday into Sunday, we had a 48-degree temperature drop in 24 hours.
Nice. That sounds terrible.
Went from 73 down to like 25.
Yeah, hard pass.
Nice.
Yeah, it said March in Wisconsin sucks.
Yeah. No, I mean, we get that February and March. Like February is usually the one where we have the widest swing, and it'll be you'll have one day where it'll be 70. I'll take the motorcycle out, and then it'll literally be that. We'll end up with like a couple inches of snow, and then we'll have a windy, rainy, hail day. Like it's dumb. It's dumb.
Well, here in Clearwater, it's either really warm, clear skies. Like you don't see clouds here unless you see clouds everywhere.
Sure.
It's like either clear blue or cloudy. And yesterday was 84 degrees, and I was wearing jeans because there was no chance that I was going to get any more sun on my legs.
You're out there looking like Zoidberg, just bright red.
I didn't care. And I'm throwing out the first pitch, and that was a big surprise. That was kind of a really cool moment for me. Getting to throw out the first pitch, and like I said, there's no chance that I was going to bounce it up there.
Yeah,
and it was such a surprise to me. It wound up being a big surprise to everybody because they saw that I posted something and said, "Hey, I'm throwing out the first pitch," which happened literally 10 minutes after I got off the horn with you guys.
Oh, okay.
I found out about it 10 minutes later, and I'm like, "Ooh, all right, awesome." And I went out to a nice cheer, and the other girl who was throwing a ball, she was a 3-time Olympic gold medalist swimmer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm like, when was the last time you threw a baseball? She goes, "I'm a swimmer." I was like, oh, perfect. I said, so what I'll do is I'll mess up royally. So you just look back.
That's right. You do you. That's awesome. How's it going, Wen?
But it was a very cool moment. But then I'm like, all right, I got to get out of the sun. It was just killing me.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good times when you get that burn that even just the heat on the shirt, you're just like, yeah, this is terrible.
Yeah, that's what was kind of going on with me. I won't even show you what my legs look like. They in certain spots they're purple.
Doesn't match your shirt.
And it's
wow.
Well, no, the red is on the bottom part of my legs. That looks like my shirt. But my upper thighs are like in this swollen purple, which is ouch. It's an ouch.
That's all bad. That's all bad.
Yeah.
Go take an ice bath.
No, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I am not the polar plunge guy.
I mean, it wouldn't matter now anyway.
No, yeah, because the truth of the matter is that like people say to use aloe and stuff like that. Something that what I've learned is really good about pulling out the heat. Rum. Now, I'm not talking about drinking it. You'd have to put it on the sunburn because you could drink it, and and you can get drunk by osmosis by doing it. But it actually, like, if you soak a rag in rum and you put it on sunburn, it actually will pull out the sting.
Yeah, I mean, the aloe is more to try and keep your skin from peeling. But
Correct. So, but it's not, that doesn't stop the burn either.
yeah,
It goes on very, very cold, the aloe, so I'm not a big fan of that either.
yeah, no, it's definitely ice cold when it goes on. But yeah, I mean, that's just to try and rehydrate the skin so that it doesn't peel. But if it's purple, it's peeling anyway.
Well, if it's purple, it's nowhere near peeling. It's very swollen. So
No. I mean,
it is what it is.
Like, it doesn't matter how much moisture you go to put back in it. That skin is peeling.
Yeah.
Maybe. But in the meantime, there was another professional baseball game that happened.
Yep.
Are your Cubs going to play any games this year, or are they going to win any games, or are they going to wind up pooping the bed?
I mean, the first month of the season is going to be rough. When you look at 20 of their first 30 games are against the NL West. But then they'll be done with the NL West the rest of the way after that. So, I mean, the first month of the season is going to be interesting, but then they have a very light schedule, May and June. I mean, even like this first series, I'm not taking too much out of it. It was a 2-game series in Japan. You're still in the middle of spring training, so all of your starting pitchers are still on like your spring training reps. You're not at a full pitch count. You're not at like your full like 100% ready to go mode, as opposed to what it would be like if you were just opening the season at the end of March like you typically do. So there's not like a lot of stock I'm putting into it. I'm more so looking at it if the umpiring is going to be how bad it was in the second game of that series. Well, everyone is screwed when they play the Dodgers, because you could tell the Dodgers were benefiting from being in Japan that second game, because the Shohei home run was not a home run. That home run would not have been a home run if he was not in Japan. There was another situation in the third inning when the Cubs had bases loaded, 1 out, and Roki Sasaki had a full count. Pitch was about 4 inches outside. They called strike 3 because Roki Sasaki's pitching. So, I mean, there was a lot of calls in that game where I think just because they're in Japan, they wanted to keep the fans happy.
No tap? No head tap?
Not in this one, no. Because Japan does not have that technology yet. I mean, they do, but they don't have it implemented over there. Yeah.
And I guess because it's not been used in these 2 games, it won't be used in the rest of the other games. They're not going to incorporate it this year.
No.
Yeah, it was just a spring training thing.
Playoffs, they're incorporating it.
Yeah.
Playoffs, they'll use it. Regular season, they will not. They're doing the test. They're doing the test run in spring, and from all accounts, it seems like everyone likes it in spring. This year in the minors, AAA is going to have it for the entire year. AA is going to have it for a large chunk of the year, and then next year, I think, is when Major League Baseball will get it full time.
So yesterday, as I was watching, a player. So anybody right now can tap. Is that how that works?
As long as they have the automated,
right?
You get 2 per game, and not every stadium has the automated.
That's not true. I watched Castellanos do it twice at an at bat yesterday. Same at bat. Schwarber had already done it once. So it's not. I mean, I think it's right now. It's at any time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the rule. I don't think that they have. I don't think they have a set rule for this yet. Because I tell you, truth of the matter is that Castellanos did it twice. Both times came back as balls. You know, they were called strikes, came back as balls. The third strike, he wanted to do it again, but for a strike 3, it was like they weren't going to let him do it again.
Yeah.
So, and I felt like that the umpire called it a strike specifically because he's been shown up twice already.
Yeah.
And he was having a problem calling one side of the plate. Like it was all the times anybody was doing a tap, it was a ball. Like every single
See,
time.
that doesn't bother me as much as it does for like some people. Like obviously you want consistency in umpiring. You want the umpires to get the call right as much as possible. But if you're calling, as long as you're calling it consistent,
It's like it's their job.
Well, no, like as long as you're calling it consistent the whole day, though. Like if there's one spot of the plate where you're calling it a ball as opposed to a strike, but you're consistently calling it a ball on that side of the plate the whole game, it's not going to bother me because you're being consistent. Like that is consistently what you're calling the entire game. As long as it doesn't change, all of a sudden we're in the seventh inning and now that pitch that's been a ball for 6 innings is now a strike.
Yeah.
Well, no, but he was going the other way. He was calling it a strike.
Well, yeah,
and it was consistently a ball.
Yeah, it'd be the same thing though. Like as long as he was doing that the whole game and not changing it one inning to the next.
Yeah, but at what point is the line in the sand drawn? So, I mean, there was a ball that was 4 inches out, or 0.4 inches out. That was considered a ball, and then there was a ball that was 3 inches out, 2.9 inches.
Yeah. So I mean,
and they show that distance, but both of those were strikes.
The 0.4 I get though, right? Like that's close enough that sure, right? Like at the speed and everything, maybe missing that. If you're 3 inches out, like you should be able to see that.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, but realistically, these balls are going 100 miles an hour.
No, for sure.
So it's like, are you really seeing it like that? I mean, it's like, it just so happens that you blink at that moment.
No,
you know what I mean?
And it also happens to be like where the umpire stands behind home plate too, because they like to stand directly kind of like in the middle of the catcher, like where their chin is kind of splitting the catcher's numbers. So if the catcher slides more to the inside corner, there's a chance that the umpire is going to slide a little bit more to the inside corner, which makes a pitch on the outside look further outside than what it is, or vice versa. They slide to the outside, the umpire follows them. So now that pitch looks more inside than what it typically would be, even if it's a strike.
Yeah, basically what Dustin's saying is he was a huge fan of Angel Hernandez because he was super consistent.
But the thing with Angel Hernandez, though,
he was terrible at his job, but he was consistently terrible at it.
He was terrible at his job, but like his calls were so egregiously bad. Like he was calling stuff that was like 3-4 inches outside, 3-4 inches high. Like if a ball is like a half inch outside or a half inch high or whatever, and it's just outside of that box, and the umpire calls it a ball or a strike. As long as that call stays consistent the whole game, I'm not going to complain about it because one pitcher's not benefiting from it.
No, I mean, I get where you're going, but I also want them to be calling correctly. Like if you're missing by a half an inch, I'm not mad at that. If you're missing by, more than a baseball, I don't love that. Even if you're consistently terrible calling that, I don't love that.
Because the last spring training game the Cubs had before they went to Japan, I can't remember. Does Pat Hoiberg sound correct? Is that guy's name? I think it's Pat Holbrook or Pat Hoiberg, one of the umpires that's been around for a while. But there was a pitch that was a ball. 19 times this pitch was a ball, and the umpire called it a strike 19 times. But it wasn't a ball by it was probably a ball by maybe 2 or 3 centimeters outside of the box where it was very close to being a strike. But he called that pitch 19 times a strike, so it's not like he changed his call at any point. Like he was consistently calling that, so the pitchers are like, if he's going to give it to me, I'm going to keep throwing it there.
Right, but then also the pitcher's got to keep throwing it there.
Yeah.
And so it's, I mean, there's a second half to that as well, that the pitcher's got to be that consistent.
Yep.
I mean, Maddox made a living, that he made his whole career off of that he could be consistently on the edge. And I'd be willing to bet that Maddox in this world would not be able to do it. No, he would not be able to do it. He'd be getting tap, 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 and he would lose a lot of the calls, that he was getting. Angel Hernandez was saying people were swinging and not swinging.
Yeah, I mean, he would call strikes that were literally in the dirt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he just wasn't seeing the ball. It wasn't like, I just missed the line. It was just like that thing was literally in the dirt. Pretty sure that didn't cross unless it was just this massive rainbow ball It's just not going to happen.
I mean, when you see the catcher, when you're seeing a catcher catch the ball above your head and you're calling it a strike, like I don't know how you can't see the ball going above your head.
Right.
Yeah, but he was just bad all the way around.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah, he didn't have a side of the plate that he was good on. Like he was just terrible.
So I wish that I heard he's going to go work for Banana Ball now, so he can go get those calls and strikes wrong.
I mean, that makes sense to me though.
I would not want him in Banana
Right?
Ball.
Like because he's just going out there for the booze is all it is. Right?
That's what I would do. I mean, you might as well go get paid. If you're going to get booed, you might as well get paid.
Exactly.
Send him to the Mexican League, have him umpire down there.
I'm sure he's probably down there already. I'm sure he's. I mean, think about this. He's probably, reffing now for $75 a game or $50 a game. Some, independent league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would do.
Right.
But what else is happening in the world? I don't get to find out what's happening in the world while I'm on my phone doing this. So
March
Yeah,
Madness
I feel like
just
that there's-
started.
The Patriots are meeting with Diggs,
Mm-hmm.
so they're bringing him in. If you're Diggs, I don't know if you love that. Like that's not a team that's going to be doing anything.
No.
But
March Madness.
but what do you not want to play? That's what you're getting closer and closer to.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously the Patriots could use him. Like they need a weapon,
They do.
right? But he has to figure out how to not be a head case. So, like, I don't know if that's a real thing.
I don't think. I mean, how do you stop?
Well, I mean, because it's sort of a prove it deal, right? Because his tenure with the Texans, he gets hurt right away. His contract was, restructured when he left the Bills, so it was just a 1-year deal, and so this is another like prove it deal. So he's going to have to show that he can still be effective in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's going to have to put out maximum effort if he wants to keep playing. So, and Scott, I think you're right. Like he's got to sign a 1-year deal, but and he's going to get the bulk of the targets, right? Because they don't have anybody.
Actually, again, this is another one of those spots where I feel like Pittsburgh would actually be a great benefit to this. Throw him in Pittsburgh.
Yes. If he went in as the possession receiver there, he'd eat all day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree with that. Like, I think that'd be a great fit. I don't think they do it, but I mean, if they could add another head case to that roster, it would be amazing.
Then they should get the king of head cases. Get Aaron, and then everybody would be going, hey, listen, we're going to go have receivers camp in Costa Rica. Come with me.
Man, yeah, I would absolutely bring the popcorn for that. Like that would be.
I might want to go. I'd be like, hey, I can catch the ball too. They wouldn't even notice.
I'm just looking at them all complaining that other guys got the ball. Like, I'm not getting enough touches. It's like, yeah, no kidding. There's 3 of you guys.
But I mean, who's running back now? Who's there? I mean, I know they lost Najee.
They don't have. They
don't have one really, right?
They have Warren yet.
Yeah, no,
and they got Miles Sanders. Did I hear Miles Sanders signed with them, which is not really a running back? I feel like that's.
Don't think he did.
I mean, I'm sure he's just. I think he signed with them for 1 year. The problem with Miles Sanders is Miles Sanders cannot play in cold weather.
No, Miles Sanders signed with the Cowboys.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, no, I know that they've been really trying to get the Chubb signing, but nothing's come of it yet. So, at least that I've seen.
Yeah, the Steelers have Kenneth Gainwell and Jaleel Warren.
That's right, again, Gainwell. I knew it was an ex-Eagle that was there.
And they also have Cordero Patterson, who's still used as a running back / whatever you want to use him for, a gadget player, basically.
Wide receiver. I know he's more. Actually, he was great as a running back in Atlanta.
Yeah,
but then you get Bijan, and then you have to use Bijan.
So yeah, they still like Gainwell and Warren would be their running backs right now. You would have Patterson that you can use in specific packages and things like that. But if they go out and somehow get Nick Chubb, now you're looking at Chubb as your 1, Warren as your 2, and then Gainwell's your 3rd down back.
I mean, that could work.
I guess use Gainwell more as a fullback there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
at least he can block.
Guys, so you don't have to worry about them really crowding the box, right? So you'll be able to get more mileage out of Chubb because you're not going to have those safeties creeping up because you got 2 guys that can burn you deep.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they have to stay a little more true to their position rather than cheat. So, I mean, that could work. That could work.
Well, that's why Diggs actually sounds like that could be a fit.
Oh, no, that's exactly why I agreed with you. I think that could be an amazing fit because they don't have that mid-level receiver.
Or even Tyler Lockett, too.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett would be great there for similar reasons, right? Great hands, runs a great route, doesn't take the big hit, keep the chains moving. Like that could be a great spot for him.
Yeah, and well, I think so. As of right now, is Russell still the quarterback?
He's a free agent.
He's a free agent. Yeah, he's not on the
roster.
As
of right now, the Steelers' starting quarterback is Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they'll go far with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're Wilson, you would want to go back because his other options are the Browns and the Giants. I mean, but the Steelers are sitting there playing this waiting game for Rodgers. And, so as it sits right now, they don't have any high caliber guy. They just got Mason Rudolph. Obviously, he's familiar with the plays. He can go win you a game, but he's not going to do much else for you.
If Mason Rudolph goes down, their backup right now is Skylar Thompson. So Mason Rudolph is their starter right now.
No, absolutely. But that's not going to remain true. Like they're either going to end up with Wilson or they're going to end up with Rodgers. Like it's going to be one of those 2 guys.
Or I don't know if he's signed anywhere else yet. Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, he's Chiefs backup now.
Yeah, he's a Chief.
Oh, he's a Chiefs backup.
Yeah.
So what happened to Carson Wentz?
He's a free agent.
Free agent, yeah.
That wouldn't be a bad pick either, Carson Wentz. Obviously, the line have to be better. I mean, it's I just think that he's got more left in the tank.
So him not being a starter has nothing to do with his skill, right? Like, dude can throw the ball. Like it's the locker room. It has to be because I mean, even when he was with the Colts for the 1 year, he had a great year.
Yeah, a great year with the Colts. Yeah,
he had a great year with the Colts, and they're like, no thanks. I don't really discredit him for the Washington one because that Washington team was absolute dumpster fire. But then he's just been a backup places, but he's just getting these 1 year deals, and so it can't be the skill set because the guy can throw the ball. So it has to be the intangibles that are a problem.
Yeah, but I think I mean, again, I don't know him personally.
Sure.
I feel like at some point you have to mature. That there is some maturity level that comes. And I got to imagine sitting there and watching the Super Bowl happen, around you last year has got to become like a little bit of a, all right, I get it. And, it's like now I've watched how for lack of a future Hall of Famer,
sure,
saying that it's automatic that he's going to get the Hall of Fame right now.
Okay,
is led his team that's going to rub off a little bit. I would think it's got to rub off a little bit, right?
Well, so you would assume so. You would have thought that it would have happened before now anyway, right? I mean, you lose your starting job. You've been relegated to a backup. Like at some point, that has to be humbling anyway.
I mean, both Super Bowls that Philly won, Wentz was a backup, technically speaking, because Nick Foles was the starter when Philly won it when he was in Philly, sure. And this year he was Kansas
City.
He
wasn't the backup. Yeah, Wentz wasn't the backup. He was hurt, so he couldn't even he could play.
But even this year, he was Kansas City's backup, and Philly won again. So he got to see firsthand Philly winning 2 Super Bowls, and he didn't have an input in the game at either time.
Yeah, well, where I was going with that is at some point, he might be old enough that the game is just past him as far as teams giving him the opportunity. Just because he has the track record that he has, like he's still going to get the backup roles, and he might get some bridge opportunities. But for a team to go all in on him as their guy,
no. You're right. You're not going all in on him. That he needs to have a Darnell moment. He needs to have a Baker Mayfield moment. He needs to be able to lead a team properly. And I think that you give him more of an opportunity, especially right now. What else you got going on in Pittsburgh?
Well, and what other options do you have? You have Rodgers, which, man, wow.
I mean,
you got Russ, who's obviously at the end of his, towards the backside of his career. And then the draft has nothing in it for you.
Pittsburgh could go after Flacco for a 1-year deal.
No, I mean, you're proving my point. Like, it's just the land of misfit toys. So, I mean, if you were going to try it, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, unless they did what we talked about yesterday. Try to figure out a way to trade for Derek Carr.
No, I mean, obviously that would have to be like a 3-part trade to do anything like that. So it's not a real thing. Yeah. We were obviously just speculating because Cam Ward said he wanted to go to the Saints. But so we were just playing with scenarios that could let that happen. But, like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So if he's going to go to the Saints,
Derek Carr is stuck.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, no, I mean, there's just not a lot of great quarterback options. So you could take a flyer on him for sure. I mean, he couldn't be worse than their Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, Mitch Trubisky, just menagerie of mid.
Where is Mitch at right now?
He's back in Buffalo.
Yeah.
All right, so he's back up there. That's not a bad backup over there. Like I like that over. If Josh by chance was absolutely able to get hurt, or was possible of getting hurt, Mitch Trubisky I think would do well there.
Yeah, the one name that was mentioned at Pittsburgh today, they're actually planning on bringing him in for a visit next Monday, is Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I mean, so Winston is entertaining, but you can't win with him.
You can't, but at least it'd be entertaining with TK Metcalf and George Pickens to see how many touchdown passes he would throw versus how many INTs he would throw going in the same direction.
You do not spend the kind of money they just spent on a receiving core to know you're not going to win. Like, you can't do that. Like, that just does not make sense. Joe Milton, the Pats like him. Like, they don't seem like they have any interest in getting rid of him.
They're going to have to eventually, though, because they're not going to keep both him and Drake May long term.
I agree. They seem like they like him. And so they may just kind of bury him in the roster until the last year of his rookie deal and then trade him. Because, I mean, he makes a serviceable backup.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they like him like the Eagles like Tanner McKee. And I believe Tanner McKee is going to be a really good backup. I suspect that the Eagles will wind up taking using one of their 5th-round picks, and I think they got like 18 of them this year, for a quarterback.
Yep.
And the Eagles are really good at that. They're really good at taking a quarterback in the 5th or later, like 4th, 5th, or 6th, and coaching them up and trading them later. And so Pickett withstanding, I mean, I know they traded Pickett, but he came through Pittsburgh and stuff like that. But honestly, I feel that Pickett was a better quarterback here than he ever was in Pittsburgh. Now, that could be because of the talent around him. Yeah. Let's call that too. But he made better decisions here than he did in Pittsburgh.
Well, you have a significantly better offensive line. So he was able to process a little bit longer.
Speaking of Pickett, do you think he opens the year as the starter in Cleveland, or do you think Cleveland ends up getting somebody else and putting Pickett as a backup?
It's still 50-50, not knowing who else Cleveland's got there. Pickett showed enough when he did play. And the one thing he did show was toughness because he was playing with broken ribs.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. Like there's for some reason or another, that gets around the NFL very quickly. When a quarterback is playing with broken ribs, that gets around to everybody, and people's eyes open up. That Matt Stafford, if you take away the play where he threw out his shoulder and then they called timeout and he went back in to throw that touchdown and it's still his shoulder came back out again.
Yeah.
If you take away that play from him, which I believe happened in his rookie year, I don't believe that he has the same feeling about him. That one play defined him as a player back then.
Sure.
And he was able to take a beating. I think of the same thing with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow stood back there against the Eagles. This is his very first game, got sacked 8 times, and brought him to a tie. And he proceeded to get sacked 75 more times before game 7 and then wound up getting knocked out of the, for that first season. So ultimately, they have figured that out a little bit. It's like, hey, let's protect Joe Burrows because we can't have him out for the entire season because that ruins any chance we have of winning.
Yeah. Well, especially since he gets hurt every other year now anyway. So, I mean, he's going to get hurt. They boosted. No, they spent more money on the offensive line. They're not worrying about the defense. So the defense is going to be out to fry. They actually have spent money on their offense here. Let's try to score 45 points a game. Yep.
We need to score 45 because we got to win by 2, and we figure they're going to score 42 points.
Pretty much. No, I assume that's how every one of their games is going to go. Is like 39-37 and they're collecting an L, right? Like you're going to put up 40 and still lose.
Right. And I think that's not as crazy to think that. Washington's kind of doing the same thing. Washington is going to wind up winning, games, high scoring.
Yeah.
That game already, I don't know if they play Cincinnati. I guess they don't, not this year. They're going to wind up playing Pittsburgh because they were in second place. Or no, it's not even. We don't even play them this year. But either way, that would have been a game to watch because that would have been the over/under probably somewhere in the 80s.
It would have been like the Vikings and Rams a couple of years ago when the Rams won
100 points.
When the Rams won like 54-45 because nobody wanted to play defense and there was like 1,000 yards passing in the game.
Yeah, that game was ridiculous.
That game was awesome.
It was like an arena game. The way it was just every drive was in the end zone.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins had like 497 passing. Goff had like 468. They've combined for like 10 touchdown passes between the two of them.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Absolutely. I don't know if that necessarily tips the hat that they're taking a quarterback at 2, but Cleveland has to take a quarterback at 2.
Do they?
They do because they're so buried into Sean's contract. I mean, unless they're going to run it out there with Pickett, but I mean, they have a team that is good enough to contend, right? Like they're not a championship caliber team, but they are a playoff caliber roster, and they just can't seem to get out of their own way. I don't think Pickett's the guy to get over that hump. So like if you're going to try something, why wouldn't you go get somebody that's going to at least put fans in the stands? Because that is something that sounds like has started to dwindle a little bit over this last year is their attendance.
So you think Shador goes to Cleveland?
I don't think Shador wants to, but I could see Cleveland making that play. I feel like that probably ruins his career.
I think Shedeur pulls an Eli Manning then and says, "I will not play here."
It's entirely possible. It is entirely possible.
That's why I don't see Cleveland taking a quarterback unless Cam Ward is there. Because if Cam Ward goes number one, I don't think Cleveland takes Shedeur because I think they're afraid that he's going to pull an Eli situation where he's like, "I'm not playing. You can draft me all you want, but I'm not going to play."
That'd be interesting to watch unfold.
I mean, that would be a very Browns thing to have happen. Like, pretty much if it's a quarterback and it can go wrong, they figure out how to do it.
Like the biggest shock to me was when seeing Atlanta decided to bring back Kirk Cousins to basically back up Michael Penix now. I thought Cleveland would try to make a run for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but if you're Cousins, do you want to go to that? I mean, I wouldn't. I'd stay in Atlanta.
Well, and can you afford that?
Yeah. Well,
can you afford it? Out of all that stuff, I mean, you just gave $160 million to Myles Garrett. You know, you're giving all this money to a guy who can't get on the field. You are spending money other places. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that you can weather the storm of his payroll. And as funny as that all sounds, he's made just as much money as Brady has.
Atlanta would still have to pay him, though.
Yeah,
like, they could sign him for a cheaper deal in Cleveland because he's still under contract with Atlanta. So, like, Atlanta would be picking up most of whatever was owed to him still anyway.
Yeah, and what Joe
not if you're trading for him, though.
Yeah, it can be part of the trade.
Yeah.
I guess
it can be part of the trade where they're like, yeah, we'll give you a fourth and you eat 70% of the contract.
Yeah.
That only happens for 1 year, though.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because he signed, I believe it was a 3-year deal. His guaranteed money was basically the first 2. I think of his contract, only $10 million was guaranteed that 3rd year. So it wouldn't be that big of a cap hit to just eat that 3rd year anyway.
And I expect Atlanta to draft a quarterback here in this first round again too. So
what Joe just said there with Dion wanting his son to go to the Raiders, I think that is where he wants his son to go. But now that the Raiders got Geno,
well, and they don't have the position anyway.
They're picking 6th, aren't they?
I thought they were 8th.
I thought they were 6th.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look.
But either way, like, do they even make that move now that they got Geno?
Yeah, they are number 6.
Yeah.
They're number 6. Okay. Yeah, I mean, probably not. They have enough other things. I don't think they need to get rid of draft picks to move up to go get him.
Yeah.
But I also think them getting Geno, actually, I mean, did they give Geno a new contract? Geno signed a new contract and then got traded.
No. So it wasn't a sign and trade deal at all. So he got traded to the Raiders. They are still working on his contract.
Yeah.
They are estimating it's going to be somewhere around 40 to 45.
See, and this is where I think that depending on how they work his contract, because things are moving very slow from that. I mean, this trade happened a month ago.
Yeah.
So ultimately, that tells me that they may be looking for Shedeur. And Shedeur backing him up now for half a season makes sense to me.
Well, it wouldn't be bad. Like, I think he'd benefit a lot by that.
100%. I feel, again, this goes back to you got to watch the game before you can play the game. You have to learn it and learn the speed because that's the biggest difference. And you don't get it in the preseason anymore. They're not playing. They're playing like they are in college in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I don't know that that's where he winds up at because, again, the Jets are picking. So.
Yeah, well, and I mean, there is also the speculation that he falls down the board a ways. So who knows? Maybe he falls to 6.
Yeah.
I mean, the predictions for Shedeur are so all over the place. Like, he could be as high as number 2. I've seen him drop to 8.
Do you think that if he falls out of the first 8, we'll call it, that he doesn't get chosen?
No, I think he still gets chosen because even if
Yeah.
if he falls out of the top 8, you do have teams in that 12 through, we'll say 19 range that they have a short-term solution at quarterback, but not a long-term solution where they could get Shedeur as their long-term play, sit him for a year, and then figure out the situation next offseason when they get to that point.
Like Atlanta.
Like Atlanta, but I think Atlanta's going to give Penix a little bit of a longer leash. I don't think they're going to be like, oh, we're just going to bring Shedeur in here after Penix.
They're not drafting another guy.
But like, there's teams.
I know, I'm making funny about that, but that would also be like, hey, Sanders goes on.
That could be where the Pittsburgh Steelers come into play. If Shedeur Sanders is sitting, like, let's just say he falls down the board and he's sitting there at 16, 17. I think Pittsburgh's picking 21. Is that a situation where Pittsburgh's like...
I don't think he makes it past Seattle if that's the case.
Well, we'll just say, that's just like a scenario. Like, if he does start to fall down the board and you have those teams that made the playoffs last year, but they're kind of on that 19 to 20 pick range, and all of a sudden it's like, we don't have a long-term solution at quarterback right now.
Yeah, I don't think he would make it past Seattle because they pick 18, and all of Darnold's guaranteed money is year 1 of that contract. So if they wanted to move on from him, they could after 1 year.
Do you think they would, though? Or do you think they're more invested in Darnold long-term now that guaranteed money's...
No, but that's what I'm saying is they're not invested in him long-term. Like, all of his guaranteed money is year 1. So if he were to fall that far, I could absolutely see Seattle getting him because he does have the ability to move around a little bit.
Yeah.
They traditionally can't figure an offensive line out.
Well, here's a question though, and I doubt it would happen, but let's just say he falls out of the top 10. Do you think Dallas would try to make a play for Shedeur Sanders and then essentially try to trade Dak?
Sure. I don't know who's picking him up.
Dak's not tradable. Not with that contract. That being said, though, who is number 11?
I can pull it up for you right now.
I don't know offhand.
So I know the Bears are picking 10. So it would be somebody right between the Dallas and the Bears. Hold on. So Dallas is 12. Chicago's 10. 11 is San Francisco.
So,
I see that being a trade. Somebody trades into that 11 spot. If he was to fall to the top through the top 10, somebody trades for that spot at number 11.
And I could see
that's where the numbers start to fluctuate. After the first 10, the number for the worth of the pick drops in a big way.
I could see the Colts potentially doing it because the Colts are picking 14. And I don't think the Colts are going to be committed to Anthony Richardson beyond this season. And I don't think they're going to be
wouldn't.
And I don't think they're going to be committed to Daniel Jones after this season. Like, if that's the case and Shedeur's kind of outside that top 10, I could see the Colts trying to go 14 to 11 and grabbing Shedeur. Because the Colts actually have a halfway decent offensive line. They have a good receiver in Michael Pittman. They have a good running back in Jonathan Taylor. You get Shedeur Sanders, then you can kind of start building everything else around him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you maybe try to convert Anthony Richards to a running back?
I'd make him a tight end. He's like 6'5", 240, 245, and he's fast.
That's what makes me think like you can do a running back.
Well, you have Jonathan Taylor. If they didn't have Jonathan Taylor, I would say yes. But the fact that they have Jonathan Taylor, who's pretty much an every down back, I could see them making Richardson a tight end just because of his height.
Yeah, but tight ends have to block a lot, and that's not where he would be. He's, you have to know how to block. So that's the problem with switching quarterback to a tight end.
Well, no, because he could fill that Jimmy Graham role where he never blocked anybody. Yeah,
they still have Mo Alley Cox too, and you could run a double tight end set where Mo Alley Cox is your blocking tight end, and then you use Richardson as your pass catching tight end.
But now you're talking about going in a big set all the time, and that's not really going to work out either. And with Jimmy Graham could catch the ball really well, and that was the one thing that he could do. he
Exactly.
could also get in the way a little bit. Like they're just like, okay, you just kind of stand here, even though you're not going to block anybody and you will get bowled over most of the time. You're going to stop them by a half a second, and that's all the half a second we need for you to do
Well,
that. I mean, that's where
I think
Jimmy
that's where
Graham really kind of.
I think it'd be similar in that way, right? Like Jimmy Graham was not blocking anybody.
No.
Like he'd get in your way, but that was it.
Right.
So, I mean, if you were to bring in a guy that can catch, has that size, quick, but can't block, I mean, you'd just be utilizing him that way.
Or you could do what they did with Cordero Patterson. Just change him into kind of like an offensive gadget player where you can have specific running plays designed for Anthony Richardson, whether it's like a wildcat formation, a jet sweep because of his speed, use him on the outside, throw a quick screen pass to him and let him try to get 5, 6, 7 yards just off of that. Because he's fast enough and he's athletic enough where if he gets the ball into his hands in the open space, he can make something happen. It's just that he's not a very good passer. He struggles to read a defense, and he just turns the ball over too much. But if you can use his athleticism to his advantage and get him out in space, he does have the potential to be a playmaker. So, I mean, essentially, they could do what they did with Cordero Patterson and be like, you're not a great receiver, but you have size and you're athletic enough where you can make plays in the open space, so we're going to try you in different ways.
That makes sense to me. I don't know if Steichen is able to kind of do that. I think that's part of the problem, that Steichen wants his quarterbacks to be a very specific way. I think he's going to do much better with Daniel Jones than he will with Richardson. I think Daniel Jones is just a smarter football player. I'm not going to say a smarter guy because I don't know either one of them, but I think that, he's a smarter football player. And that's why I kind of feel that Daniel Jones may have a small resurgence.
Well, and
because of Steichen.
He's shown that he can take a hit. Because that line that was in front of him got him murdered all the time.
And now he's actually got a top 10 offensive line in front of him. And, we'll see, because the Colts did lose 2 of their offensive linemen to the Vikings. So we'll see if they take a step back after losing those 2. But still, I think they were like a top 10 offensive line last year. So they did have a good offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Richardson is, he didn't do a great job as far as reading defenses, and he ran himself into trouble a
little. See, that was the thing with Richardson, and that's the biggest knock that I have against him is, for as good as the Colts offensive line is, they're not built to protect a mobile quarterback. They're more built to protect a pocket passer that can scramble in the pocket to escape pressure, but not a quarterback that likes to roll out to the outside and then use his legs to make stuff happen. Like they're more of a pocket passing offensive line, which Daniel Jones, yes, Jones can run, but he also knows how to stand in the pocket and pass. So I think Jones would be better behind that offensive line because of that.
Well, and he's shown he's not afraid to get hit.
Yeah.
Right. Like he stood in there and released the ball and got blasted constantly last year and the year before, right? When he got hurt. I mean, it's because he was getting thrown to the ground. Like he was actually on pace to break David Carr's single season sack record until he got hurt.
And like what Scott just said there too, that's why Flacco and Matt Ryan had some success in Indianapolis, because they're both pocket passers that benefited behind a offensive line that is used to protecting a pocket passer.
Since they're just going through all the old guys, they should have just went and snagged Dalton from the Panthers. And
I'm surprised somebody didn't make a run at Dalton, like Cleveland, the Giants, even Tennessee for that matter. But it does seem like Andy Dalton is actually happy in Carolina, because he did seem like he gave Carolina a little bit of a discount to come back to Carolina, because he took like a 2-year, $12 million deal. Which last year he was making $8 million just last year. So he took a little bit of a discount to get a multi-year deal.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of discounts, Seattle, Nwosu took a discount to come back. So we got our edge rusher coming back, saves us roughly $10 million against the cap. So that's cool. That is definitely helpful. But
Vikings dished out 2 flyer deals yesterday that I'm interested to see how they pan out.
Yeah, what's up?
Well, the Jeff Okudah deal became official yesterday, so he signed a $1 million, $5 million deal.
Okay.
Jeff Okudah was the former number 3 pick, and then late last night / super early this morning, like 2 a.m., the Vikings and Rondale Moore reached a 1-year deal. And Rondale Moore was the former second-round pick of the Cardinals.
Okay.
And Rondale Moore is like a speedster. He runs like a 4.3 240. It's just that he's had injury issues the last 2 years. He got hurt in training camp last year with Atlanta and did not play at all. And then the year before that, he only played 5 or 6 games with Arizona and ended up with like a hamstring injury and only played 1 game the rest of the year.
Wasn't he also like he's got a problem with his hands?
I don't think so.
They don't like to catch the ball.
Well, they don't use him they use him in screen plays and like running plays because of his speed. Like he's a 5'7", 170-pound wide receiver, so like he's super tiny, but he's fast in the open space, which is why they try to give him screen plays and a lot of jet sweeps just to get him into that open space. He can't take a hit though. That's the issue.
Yeah, I mean that was the Percy Harvin thing, right? Like incredibly fast.
Yeah, he's
once he got hit, he was hurt.
It's basically a smaller version of Percy Harvin, where Harvin could catch. He could do a lot of things on offense, but if you hit him, he didn't want to get hit. And that's kind of why I'm interested to see how the Vikings use Rondale Moore, because the way Kevin O'Connell does things, he'll be able to create a lot of plays for Rondale Moore, whether it's a jet sweep, whether it's a screen or whatever. It's the fact of, can he take a hit consistently?
Yeah.
Have run out of bounds a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say he has to take the Tyler Lockett approach, where you catch the ball, get down, right? It's not pretty. It makes fan bases mad, but you know what it does make you is available.
I mean, if you give me 5 catches for 51 yards and you're giving me 4 first downs out of that, I don't care if you step out of bounds. You're moving the change and you're keeping possession.
Well, and I mean that's exactly why Tyler Lockett's had the success he has, right? Is he catches everything that's around him, hit. So largely outside of muscle cramps or something like that, he's been available.
And the only hits that Lockett took were generally in the end zone.
Pretty much, because that's where he'd sell out for it. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take the big hit. We're going to score. And I mean, realistically, he learned that from Baldwin, because Baldwin did a lot of that too.
And Golden Tate.
Nah, Tate fought for every yard. Like he was absolutely that yard after catch guy.
Who was the other one? Not Golden Tate. Who was the other one that they had? It was Tate, Baldwin, then they had another one.
Oh,
that's the one I'm thinking of, not Golden Tate.
Yeah, no, yeah, because Tate fought for every yard ever.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm mind blanking his name. I know exactly.
That's the one that Tyler Lockett learned it from, was the guy that played with Baldwin and Tate. I just can't remember who that third.
I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
Wasn't that didn't he play on the Eagles in the Super Bowl?
There we go.
Yes, that one. That's where Doug Baldwin. That's where Tyler Lockett. Yeah, that's where Tyler Lockett learned the get down, not take a hit is from Jermaine Kearse. Because Kearse took a lot of shots his rookie season, and then all of a sudden he comes back his second season. He's like, I don't want to get hit no more. I'm just going to catch it and go down.
Yeah, I mean, he'd go fight for stuff, Kearse would. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't taking the big hit. Like Tate would get after a hit. And that's probably why Detroit loved him as much as they did.
Oh,
is because he's just like, you know what? Bring the heat. Let's go.
I get paid to catch the ball. Hit me as hard as you can, and I'll hold on to it.
That's right. So, no, I always liked Tate. Like, because he was that guy. Like, he was going to scrap for everything.
Well, and there you have it. So, let him scrap.
Yep.
Either way, because Golden Tate played for the Eagles for a minute too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It was his final year, wasn't it?
I think so. I think he played somewhere else. Actually, I think he got signed somewhere else. It ended there, but he did come play for the Eagles for a minute.
Yeah, I forgot that he played there.
I'm trying to think. It's like it was the year before the Super Bowl, because he didn't stay for the Super Bowl.
He was with the Eagles in 2018.
So year after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then he went to the Giants in 2019 and 2020.
Oh, I didn't remember going to the Giants at all.
Yep, he was with
Which
the
makes
Giants
sense because they just don't play good football.
Yeah,
so.
he was with the Giants in 2019 and 2020. Had a good year in 2019. He had 776 yards and 6 touchdowns. Then the next season, he had 388 yards in 5 games. Ended up getting hurt for the season. Tried to make a comeback with the Titans in 2021 and got put on their practice squad, and then never made the team. So he retired after 2021.
Okay. Well, I mean, that means he played a little bit longer than I thought he did.
Yeah, 2 years too long.
1 year too long, because he did have a good first year with the Giants, 776 with 6 touchdowns. He was the number 2 option, so I mean that's good production from a number 2.
No, that's solid,
right.
Especially when you think of what that Giants team was.
And then even the first 5 games the year after that, 388 yards and 3 touchdowns over the first 5 weeks the year after that. So I mean he was on pace for a big season that year too, before he got hurt.
Yeah, and I guess that was the early Daniel Jones year.
That would have been Daniel Jones' second season or rookie season, maybe even.
So,
That being said, that gets us to the top of the hour. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching on Roku TV, stay tuned for the next hour. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. I guess Stat Guy's going on vacation.
Yeah, I won't see you guys till Monday the 31st.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not sure where I will be, but I will try my best to be here.
Well, there you go. Either way, we will have a show tomorrow. Be sure to tune in. Otherwise, take it easy, everybody.
Later, guys.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports.